Happy Sunday, everyone. I hope your coffee's strong and your breakfast hits the spot, because today is the all-new Sunday coffee morning. And if you're new here, my name's Manda's Midlife, and I've lost over 80 pounds now on my medicated weight loss journey. And this channel is all about sharing, in an open and honest way, the highs, the lows, and all those wobbly bits in between. Every Sunday, we'll grab a coffee, slow things down for a little while, and have a proper catch-up like old mates. And don't worry, we're not changing what we've always done. We're still going to have the weekly weight update, we're still going to be talking about weight loss meds, answer a few of your questions, and of course, there will still be this week's pet peeve. What I also wanted to do was create a space where we can talk about a bit more than just the scales. Every week's going to be a little bit different. We're going to catch up on the journey, what's been going on behind the scenes, and some of the stuff that's been on my mind this week. So whether that's Mounjaro, maintenance, the gym, food, YouTube, ailments, or just something I've been thinking about, we'll sit down, we'll chat together over a nice warm cup of coffee. The whole idea is really simple. No rush, no pressure, just an honest conversation to round off the week. So grab your favourite coffee, get yourself comfortable, and let's catch up. First up, let's see how this week's weigh-in went. So I stood on the Hume scales and I was up a pound. So I'm currently 238 pounds. And if you are really, really smart and you watched last week's video, I'm no longer in the 16s. I am exactly 17 stone. So that silly little dance I did last week and the big fanfare was all very short-lived, wasn't it? Just means I need to tweak it so I can maintain the calorie deficit and I'm still losing weight and moving towards my goal. The aim of this for me is to make it consistent and sustainable, and to see if I've learned anything in the last 13 months of this weight loss journey. Now, for me, the week was a little bit up and down. There was kind of a big deal of a football game in England during the week, or soccer if you're in the USA. And I did go out for a few Guinnesses and I did have a curry whilst I was out. There was a little bit of payback for that though. I had the worst night's sleep I've ever had and the worst sulfur perhaps I've ever had. And that is purely down to the alcohol and the drink. So for me, there's a real lesson to be learned there. But like I said, this is all about the no calorie tracking experiment at the moment. We move forward, we don't panic. And next week we return with some good news, hopefully. Now we're going to move forward and look at some of the questions that you've sent in this week. And as always, don't forget or confuse me with a medical professional. I am just answering the questions that you send in with the benefit of over 12 months experience using these medications. So it is purely me sharing my experience. If you do have a question that you're itching to ask, just leave it down below in the comments and it will feature on a future Sunday coffee morning video. So the first question today is from Liesel Russ 4760. Hi, I hope this is okay. I thought I'd just jump on here and ask if you've watched or seen anything about the weight loss implant they're talking about. Sounds like a new slow release medication. Right, now I actually looked into this after you mentioned it because I wasn't aware of this at all. And I'll be honest, it really is an interesting option, albeit it's still in development at the moment. So these companies are developing a tiny implant that's placed under the skin. Apparently it's about the size of a grain of rice. And then it slow releases the weight loss medication over several months. So instead of taking a weekly injection, as I do every Sunday, or a daily tablet, as you can do now, you potentially just have the implant and they replace it every 6 months. Apparently it's in the early stages and it's not available yet. That's definitely something I'd be keeping my eye on for the future. Now, the question I've got to you all now then is, would you rather have a tiny implant replaced every 6 months or stick with a weekly injection or a daily tablet? Let me know down below in the comments what you think. Right, ever so quickly, before we read out the next question and attempt to answer it, just want to say, if you have asked a question and I've not answered it on a video, that doesn't mean I don't like the question. It doesn't mean I'm not going to answer the question. It just means I'm wary of the videos being too long. Everybody enjoys their weekends. Time is precious. So I can't sit here and waffle for too long. So if you've sent one in, it's not been featured, it will feature on a future video. So the next question, Sunshine 1225. If you absolutely had to stop taking a GLP-1 medication for any reason, whether it be financial, medical, or there's a shortage, etc., what would your plan be? Fairly easy if you had to stop temporarily because they could adapt. But what if this was permanent? Do you think you can make it work with your new way of eating and still working out? Or do you think even with these two good habits, it would be a struggle? Now, for me, I think, and I did mention it on Wednesday's video when I talked about my maintenance plan, I was always a big advocate for I've learned what I need to learn to allow me to maintain this weight loss, this over 80 pounds. But like many people that watch these videos, like myself, I've tried absolutely everything in the past. I've tried all the diets. I've lost weight to a certain degree, but I've always put the weight back on. So if there was ever a scenario or a situation where this weight loss medication was completely stopped, be that for any reason, my gut feeling, my honest feeling, is I would struggle. Because as much as this medication changes how you eat, how much you eat, in that moment when you're taking the medication, that it controls your appetite, controls the food noise. Have I actually learned what it takes to either lose weight or maintain weight? And I'm really not convinced. I'm really not sure that is the case. Let's hope it never comes to that. But for me, if I need to take this medication long term or I need to dip in and out of this medication, I'm absolutely wide open to that idea. The eating habits, the exercise, all those things, they're 100% the reason I've lost weight alongside the medication. Really fantastic question. So the final question of today's video is from David Palmer 5290. Q&A. Since you started on your journey, have you found any tasty treats that are okay to have to replace the old ones that were making you overweight? Mine are raspberries. I love them and they are very good for you. That's a great question. Now, I'm not sure if I've talked about this much previously. There are certain things that I've used to replace unhealthier versions of foods, specifically the protein shakes and the protein products. And I know what you're thinking. A lot of these protein products they just add the word protein to the label to make people like me buy it because I think it's really good for you and it's got high levels of protein. I get that side of it. Let's not get into that today. I've always been massively into eating the foods that I enjoy eating because I don't want to be that person that denies myself from having the nice foods like I would when I was larger. But now what I do is I have those foods, but in a smaller portion. So if I want some chocolate, I'll have a few chunks of chocolate rather than a massive bar of dairy milk. If you're not from the UK, check out dairy milk because it is the best thing in the world and no exceptions. Right, stop that talk right now. So if I'm going to have a pizza, instead of having a whole pizza, I'm going to have a quarter of a pizza or half of a pizza. It was never really about eating those unhealthier foods for me. It was about the quantity of those unhealthy foods that I was eating. So that was my issue. I guess to answer your question, there's so many foods. Like yourself, really into fruit, was never massively a fruit eater. Vegetables, never really used to fill my plate with vegetables. All the good things that you're supposed to take, they're the real treats for me now. They're the foods that kind of excite me a little bit because I know, and when you're on this journey, if you're eating something healthy, it kind of fills you with a little bit of, you feel, yeah, I'm eating all the healthy stuff, I'm eating all the good stuff. But any specific treats, I've always sort of stuck to the stuff that I would always eat previously, but in smaller quantities. But that's a great question, David, and very much appreciated. So that's all the questions that have been sent in this week. Again, as always, leave your question down below in the comments, mark it Q&A, and it will feature on a future Sunday video. Now, before we get into pet peeve, I just wanted to have a quick chat about something that's been on my mind, probably for about 5-6 weeks ago, and it was following a comment that was left on the channel. And it's about YouTube and brands and all that kind of stuff. So when you have a YouTube channel and you start building up subscribers and views and all that kind of stuff, one of the weird things that happens is brands contact you and they want to send you stuff. You get an email out of the blue, can we send you this? Would you do a review? I'll be honest with you, a lot of the times I just either ignore it or I send her, no, this really doesn't fit the channel, because it needs to be about weight loss. It needs to be about midlife health. It needs to be about wellness for this to fit in with the overall sort of feel and what we're trying to achieve here with the channel. So a lot of the time I say, no, don't bother. If it fits in with the channel, I say, yeah, cool, send it. But I'm not going to guarantee I'm going to do you a review, because again, I need to make sure that it works. Two, it's something that would be of interest to you people watching, and it needs to align with the values of the channel as it stands here today. So the stuff gets sent over. I'll try it out. I'll eat it. I'll drink it. I'll weigh with it, whatever it may be. If it fits with the channel, if it's a good bit of kit, if I think it's going to be of use to you, then it may feature on the channel. I may do a short integration. I may casually mention it. On the other hand, what I will say is I spend a lot of time making these videos. We're talking, at least, I work full time. I've got a job, and I spend at least 2 evenings a week, probably from about 6 in the evening, sometimes to 1 in the morning, making what you see on the screen right now, editing what you see on the screen right now. So in the likely event that I make a small amount of cash, it is more of a bonus than anything. And ultimately that then gets reinvested back into the channel for new mics, new lights, new camera, that kind of stuff, which in turn will allow me to make better content, which in turn will allow me to reach more people and share my story and give people advice and all that kind of stuff. So just bear in mind that the products that you may see on this channel, they're only there because I filtered through all the garbage that gets sent, all the garbage that from the emails that I get approached by, and they're things that I think are actually going to aid your weight loss journey in some way, aid your wellness journey in some way, and they are of a benefit to you. So please don't hate on me. That's what I'm trying to say. So the pet peeve I've chosen this week is from Heidi Dombrowski. And my pet peeve, I did Lily Direct with my doctor. He was my biggest cheerleader. I reached go and had a conversation about maintenance. If I stop, I'll have to have a BMI of 27.5 for him to prescribe again. For me, that would mean a gain of 25 pounds, which is absolutely unacceptable. This is the thing, isn't it? And there's another channel, Katie Sarah 1982, who has had a very similar scenario where she came off the medication, decided it wasn't working for her, but her BMI was at a level where in the UK she couldn't get prescribed the medications again. I think a lot of these suppliers are very quick to close the door, slam the door on maintenance purely because you reach a level of BMI which they feel you no longer need that medication to continue maintaining or even losing weight. And it's really tricky because you could almost, like you, Heidi, you could find yourself in that position where you have to put on weight to get the medication again. Put on weight purely to get a weight loss medication. It's absolutely bonkers. It really is. For me, my intention is I'm going to carry on taking the medication until such time as I don't need it. And I have approached my supplier, Bolt Pharmacy, and they are willing to prescribe the medication to me until my BMI is 22.5. So I'm currently hovering around the 29s, 29.7, I think it is off the top of my head. So I'm going to be okay going forward for a little while. It's got to be worth having that conversation with your prescriber because they need to learn to support people, not just at the beginning of this journey, not just at the middle of the journey, not just at the end of the journey, but throughout the entire journey into maintenance and beyond, and not just untie the rope and cast you off, because I don't think it's very fair, and I don't think it's very fair that people could potentially be looking at putting on weight purely to get back on the medication to continue their treatment. Heidi, fantastic pet peeve of the week, and it's really one that sort of hits home with me, albeit I'm in the situation where my provider is willing to support me going forward. Well, that's that for this week's Sunday coffee morning. As always, thank you so much for spending a little bit of your weekend with me. I genuinely appreciate you taking the time to sit down, grabbing a coffee and having a catch up. If you really enjoy following my journey and you'd like to see where it goes from here, or whether that's reaching my go away, moving into maintenance, or everything that comes after, I'd love you to subscribe and join me each week. And don't forget, I'm also now on Instagram and TikTok. On screen now, I will leave my maintenance plan video from last week if you'd like to see exactly how I'm planning the next stage of my journey, should or when I reach go. And alongside that, there will be another video that YouTube thinks you're going to absolutely love. Have a fantastic week, look after yourselves, and I'll see you all on Wednesday for another video, and of course next Sunday for another Sunday coffee morning.